The arrival of Yang Berhormat Brigadier General Khairi Jamaluddin, Minister of Youth and Sports Malaysia, accompanied by the Honorable Rector of IIUM, Professor Datuk Seri Dr. Zaliha Kamaruddin, and other guests of honor. All guests, please remain standing for the national anthem Negaraku and IIUM University song.
Lead the way, lighten the future, share the wisdom to the spirit of Islam. Revelation and reason shall excel, shall prevail. Merging faith and knowledge, the Khalifa, we will fulfill the amanah. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Iqra. IIUM is to realize the meaning of Rahmatan lil Alamin. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Iqra. IIUM is to realize the meaning of mercy to all the worlds, for all mankind.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Honorable Brigadier General Khairi Jamaluddin, Minister of Youth and Sports Malaysia and IIUM Mentor Minister, Honorable Professor Datuk Seri Dr. Zaliha Kamaruddin, Rector of International Islamic University Malaysia, Mr. Abdul Rahman Tobash, Vice President of Islamic Conference Youth Forum for Dialogue and Cooperation, Honorable Datuk Luqman Hakim Ali, Secretary General, Ministry of Youth and Sports Malaysia, Tuan Haji Muammar Gaddafi Jamal Jamaluddin, President, National Youth Council Malaysia, Honorable Senior Officers of Ministry of Youth and Sports Malaysia, IIUM University Management Committees, National Youth Council Malaysia Committees, delegates of Islamic Conference Youth Forum for Dialogue and Cooperation, moderators, panelists, guests and participants, members of the media, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to all. Selamat datang, ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum jami'an.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to extend a very warm welcome to everyone to the opening ceremony of the program towards the renaissance of Muslim future thinkers, Vision TN50 of Malaysia, organized by the Ministry of Youth and Sports Malaysia in cooperation with Islamic Conference Youth Forum for Dialogue and Cooperation, International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM, and Majlis Belia Malaysia or Youth Council Malaysia or National Youth Council Malaysia.
We would most definitely like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Brigadier General Khairi Jamaluddin, Minister of Youth and Sports Malaysia, for his presence this morning. Terima kasih. Shukran jazilan.
Ladies and gentlemen, to begin the program, I would like to invite Ustaz Muhammad Zaki bin Abdul Ghani from Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah Mosque to lead the dua recitation. فليتفضل مأجورا.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. Al-Fatiha. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. اللهم أنت ربنا لا إله إلا أنت خلقتنا ونحن عبادك وعلى أهدك ووعدك ما استطعنا نعوذ بك من شر ما صنعنا نبوء لك بنعمتك علينا ونبوء بذنوبنا فاغفر لنا إنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. Almighty Allah, Lord of mercy and beneficence, bless this opening ceremony toward the renaissance of Muslim future thinkers, Vision TN50 of Malaysia. With your pleasure and mercy, O Allah, Lord of bounties and infinite, shower upon us your divine guidance, that our word and deed be done in completeness and excellence. Assist us, O Allah, in fulfilling our obligation and seeking your pleasure. Oh Allah, please bless yang berhormat Mr. Khairi Jamaluddin with a good health and blessing. May he be protected under Allah guidance and protection. Ya Allah, wahai Tuhan kami, di pagi Isnin yang penuh barakah ini, kami menadah tangan berdoa kepadamu. Engkau jadikanlah kumpulan kami pada hari ini sebagai sebuah kumpulan yang engkau rahmati, dan jadikanlah perpisahan kami selepas ini sebagai perpisahan yang terhindar dari segala kesalahan dan dosa. Allahumma ja'al jama'ana hadha jam'an marhuma wa tafarruqana min ba'di tafarruqan ma'suma wa la taj'al fina shaqiyyan wa la mahruma innaka ala kulli syai'in qadir. Rabbana zalamna anfusana وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. تقبل الله منا ومنكم.
Alamin, jazakallah khairan kathir al-fadhil Ustaz.
distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I now have the distinct pleasure to respectfully invite Honorable Professor Datuk Sri Dr. Zaliha Kamarudin, Rector of IIUM, to deliver her welcoming remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Honorable Brigadier General Khairi Jamaluddin, Minister of Youth and Sports Malaysia and IIUM Mentor Minister. Mr. Abdul Rahman Tokbash, Vice President of ICYF DC, Islamic Conference of Youth Forum for Dialogue and Cooperation. Honorable Datuk Lokman Hakim Ali, Secretary General Ministry of Youth and Sports Malaysia. Tuan Haji Muammar Gaddafi Jamal Jamaluddin, President of Majlis Belia Malaysia. Honorable Senior Officers of Ministry of Youth and Sports Malaysia, IIUM University Management Committees, Majlis Belia Malaysia Committees, Delegates of Islamic Conference, Youth Forum for Dialogue and Cooperation, ICYF DC, Moderators, panelists, guests and participants, members of the media, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good morning to everybody. Alhamdulillah, with the grace of Allah, we are here for the opening ceremony of Towards the Renaissance of Muslim Future Thinkers Vision TN50 of Malaysia. And first and foremost, let me say thank you to YB for being here despite his very tight schedule. And as minister, I saw him on TV Saturdays, Sundays. He don't seem to have a rest day at all, Dato' YB. And we hope that his presence here, we can benefit a lot together as a minister mentor for IIUM. Second, I would like to say thank you to the Ministry of Youth and Sports because they have selected IIUM to be the co-organizer. The genesis of it is like one fine night when it was drizzling. We were celebrating Putrajaya as the OIC Youth Capital. At that time, I met Ambassador Iskandarov, and he said, "Why not IIUM come in to co-organize with them towards the renaissance of Muslim future thinkers?" So I thought in my mind it was renaissance. Instead, it's renaissance. So we checked our dictionary. We had this meeting where Dr. Ghani was there chairing the meaning, whether there is a difference, the meaning of renaissance and renaissance, right? So we were thinking perhaps it's the same thing after all. It's just a matter of pronunciation, or perhaps renaissance is French, YB? Renaissance is French, and Renaissance it became from French to English, perhaps. But basically, we feel very honored to be selected as the co-organizers for this, and we set up an academic committee to look into ways on how we could help in training young leaders for the Muslim Ummah. I mentioned this to Ambassador Iskandarov that we have at least 170 nations congregating on this campus, so they could benefit. So instead of bringing the world to IIUM and IIUM to the world, so we thought bringing IIUM to the world would be the most effective methods, because to have our students here exposing to various kinds of cultures in IIUM on Malaysian soil will be good, because Malaysia is training leaders for the Muslim Ummah here in Malaysia, right? So that helps, and we have requested IIMU, the International Islamic Muslim Unity, under the leadership of Prof. Walid, directly answerable to Prof. Aziz, to prepare for this forum, and we hope that all those who are here in this hall, they have registered willingly, volunteering themselves to be here at least for 2 days, plus another 1 day in Putrajaya for the pitching session. This is good because I was told that the forum has been adopted as one of the 14 actions under the chapter of Joint Youth Action Plan by the 3rd session of the Islamic Conference of Youth and Sports Ministers somewhere in October 2016 in Istanbul. Right? So these programs are out of some resolutions. And as I've mentioned, that Putrajaya is declared as the OIC Youth Capital in 2017. The MFTF is very pleased to make its first convention in this city under the auspices of the International Islamic University Malaysia and Malaysia Youth Council. So Malaysia Youth Council will take up from here on the 2nd day or 3rd day, where there'll be more active and proactive sessions. So the first part of the forum will be more on intellectual discourse, and I'm happy to note that Datuk Nasha from GMM is here. He's willing to spend his time, again, although he's busy schedule working on global moderates. Yeah. Now, as mentioned when you register, that the program aims to create global Muslim intellectual networks by fostering cooperation and integration among Muslim youth, and to boost youth entrepreneurship and volunteerism to train youth leaders for future challenges. And YB, this program is not just for 2 days or 3 days. For most of them in this hall, is 4 years. So I hope this 4 years exposure is enough for you to network. In fact, I did at that time, although I said secara zalim, to have YB standing for at least for 3 hours or 2 hours, giving out the degrees. So I mentioned to YB that this degree doesn't reflect just academic excellence, but also the fact that our international students or our Malaysians are exposed to networking of the student leaders. So if they take this opportunity, this is networking, and the world is network, network, and network to move ahead. Now, as I've mentioned, that this will be a short speech because I'm here to hear opening speech from YB Khairi, of which I am always excited to hear coming from the bigger picture, so that we can learn from him what is happening out there, because although this is like an oyster, but perhaps this is not good enough. We need to hear out there what is happening, the challenges that we need to face, and what things we need to prepare to our youth leaders today. So we consider not that you are future youth, you are already a leader in your own right, representing your country. Last but not least, I would like to say thank you to all who have been working very hard. We have been having several meetings to put up this program for all of you here, especially for YB, for Mr. Abdul Rahman Tokbash for representing ICYF, the Ministry of Sports and Youth and Sports. Some of the top officers are here. Thank you very much. We have been working very hard towards this. There have been like changes of speakers and changes of venue, but that doesn't stop us from having this, because we know that the main objective is for exposure and training. So regardless of whatever challenges that we are facing, we will just do it. And we pray, yes. Thank you, Brother Anas. Brother Anas is from Istanbul. He has always wanted to come back to IIUM. So this is one of his rare opportunities to be back here. And for those guests who are first timers here, we say ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. And for those our alumni, welcome home. And we would like again to say thank you to everybody. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Honorable Datuk Sri.
Ladies and gentlemen, now with much honor, I would like now to call upon Mr. Abdul Rahman Topbash, Vice President of Islamic Conference Youth Forum for Dialogue and Cooperation ICYFDC, to deliver his keynote address. Please welcome.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. Honorable Brigadier General Khairi Jamaluddin, Minister of Youth and Sports Malaysia, and IIUM Mentor Minister, Honorable Professor Dr. Seri Dr. Zaliha Kamaruddin, Rector of International Islamic University, Malaysia, Honorable Dato Lokman Hakim Ali, Secretary General, Ministry of Youth and Sports Malaysia, Tuan Haji Muammar Gaddafi Jamal Jamaluddin, President, National Youth Council Malaysia, Honorable Senior Officers of Ministry of Youth and Sport Malaysia, IIUM University Management Committees, National Youth Council Malaysia Committees, the delegates of Islamic Conference Youth Forum for Dialogue and Cooperation, moderators, panelists, guests and participants, members of media, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and a very good morning. His Excellency Ambassador Arshad Iskandarov, President of ICYFDC, would have loved to attend this important event, but due to engagements of ICYFDC in preparation of 4th Islamic Conference of Youth and Sports Ministry, prevented him to do so. He, however, entrusted me to read this statement on his behalf. While it gives me a great honor to address the opening of Towards the Renaissance of Muslim Future Thinkers Conference as one of the landmark programs of Putrajaya 2017 OIC Youth Capital Program, I convey my regrets of not being able to be with you all due to conflicting schedule of ICYFDC, as especially related with preparations of 4th ICSM to be held in Baku, Republic of Azerbaijan, on 17 and 19 April 2018. Allow me at the outset to express my thanks and gratitude to His Excellency Brigadier General Khairi Jamaluddin for leadership in implementing this important endeavor, and Professor Zaliha Kamaruddin for hosting this gathering at the IIU. This conference, being organized in partnership between ICYFDC and valuable Malaysian partners, is the most important milestone on the way of building together Muslim Future Thinkers Forum, envisaged to be a house of wisdom to unite efforts by established and young scholars in producing intellectual solutions to multiple challenges the Ummah is currently facing. I must clarify that the gathering of MFTF, which is an initiative which is an innovative platform designed by ICYFDC, is envisaged to serve as an important hub to develop new intellectual paradigm, both to inform and advise the Ummah in overcoming the political and socio-economic challenge of our times. The second object of the platform is to explore and strengthen the academic potential of new generation of social sciences of Islamic world and and to pair them with most brilliant minds of accomplished generation. The last but not least, the forum aims to become a point of reference, which is to serve as a collective intergenerational academic pool of Islamic world to present intellectual contribution of the Ummah to global discussion on the role and Muslims in future of humanity and countering the outrageous predicus of rising Islamophobia. Your Excellencies, honorable scholars, distinguished delegates. This forum, being the first of its kind, is held with the purpose of creating excellent platform which will on annual basis bring together outstanding established Muslim scholars along with the brightest young PhDs in the field of social and political sciences, economics, and international relations, studies of cultures and civilizations, to look forward to a century worthy of our Ummah. And it is standing among nations in order to sincere commitment and resolve embracing the future and attaching ourselves to knowledge, sciences, and sound thinking. As the OIC organization responsible for comprehensive development of youth and the Secretariat of OIC Conference of Ministers of Youth and Sports, which is responsible of an implementing common youth policies of OIC member states. The ICYFDC exerted all necessary efforts which resulted in inclusion of MFTF into Joint Youth Action Plan adopted by the third ICYSM Istanbul 5 and 7 October 2016. It is hoped that this platform will be able to trigger the environment and encourage and supports scientific and intellectual inquiry, giving scholars, intellectual, and developing youth thinkers to respect and consideration they received in the past in order to play their part in the domains of knowledge, human development, and civilization growth. It is important to note that two meetings of this distinguished MFTF Academic Board, Shiraz Seminar of the Forum under the light of intellectual legacy of Mullah Sadr, led the final stage, which is the Malaysian Conference on revitalizing the concept of future thinking. It is not coincidence that the final stop before the actual establishment of the forum is being held in Malaysia, which is renowned for its world-class policies to promote youth development, host to one of the UMMA's unique center of academic excellence. IIUM and the proud of host for 2017 Putrajaya OIC Youth Capital. Therefore, I am anxious to know about the outcomes of Malaysia Conference of MFT to set a sample guidance, mentorship, and creative engagement between established and young scholars that would go far in strategically empowering entire generations Muslim intellectuals. I am also looking forward for these outcomes to be incorporated into founding convention of MFTF to be held next April, inshallah, in Istanbul, in cooperation with Ibn Khaldun University and IIUM, where I look forward to see you all. I am also looking forward to host young talents attending the Islamic countries Youth Entrepreneurs Network pitching session, Southeast Asia round, event to be held tomorrow at the ICYFDC annual OIC Startup Platform and Startup Expo to be held next year, inshallah, respectively in Kazan, Republic of Tatarstan, and in Istanbul. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as you may be aware, upon the proposal by the ICYFDC, the recently held 44th season of the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers in Abidjan issued, among its most important decision, 3rd of September as the OIC Youth Day, to ensure that young people in OIC member states have their own specific day in which they become the central part of celebration and reflection of what the societies can better do for their empowerment and development, so as far for them to be engines of progress in those some societies. I am therefore challenging all of you, dear and estimated academicians, to also celebrate this occasion with the suitable and the activities, including those of academic character. It is also relevant to share that Al-Quds Al-Sharif will be OIC Youth Capital for 2018. In this context, and given the pressing importance of expressing solidarity with the state of Palestine by the OIC member states and institutions, I am inviting you all to make good use of this historical decision by the actively participating and supporting the concerned Palestinian authorities for the successful holding of these activities related to program in case. Excellencies, ladies, gentlemen, I am confident that important initiatives organized today and tomorrow in Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya will receive their well-deserved highlight both during the next celebration of OIC Youth Day and acknowledgement by the 4th IIMS to be held next year in Baku, Azerbaijan. I am also confident that our exemplary cooperation with the Ministry of Youth and Sports of Malaysia under the vision for support of Muslim youth by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak and leadership of General Jamaluddin will not just lead our joint endeavors to success, but also set an example for other OIC member states in pursuit of joint youth policy. Let me, in conclusion, wish full success to the initiative we started today and express my hope that you will be among those whom Allah honors by enhancing the conditions of Muslims and protecting his religion, as it was relayed to our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the verse of Holy Quran said, "Astagfirullah, in tansurullaha yansurukum." Indeed, Allah will help those who help Him. Indeed, Allah is exalted in might, all powerful. I thank you for your kind attention. And as the Vice President of IISYF-DC, as your Muslim brother Abdurrahman, I am very proud to be here due to the fact that this region is the proof of the Islam is the religion of peace. Billions of Muslims living in this geography became Muslims not because of threat of sword, but they became Muslims with the guidance of Tabligh and good representation of Sunnati Rasulullah. Or in other words, by seeing the Nurul Islam and following its path. Let's announce the Islamophobic minds that reach to level of anti-Islam. Muslims cannot be illustrated as a people who just carry swords with a long beard and a potential suicide bomber. In fact, the Muslim is a man who distributes Nurul Islam, peace of Islam, and happiness, and spirit of brotherhood to the earth. Salam to people of this land, and salam to whom following the Sunnati Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Very much, Mr. Abdurrahman.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I now have the distinct honor and privilege to invite Honorable Brigadier General Khairi Jamaluddin, Minister of Youth and Sports Malaysia, to deliver his opening address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera dan salam negaraku satu Malaysia. Terima kasih saudara dan saudari pengurusi majlis. Yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk Seri Dr. Zaliha Kamaruddin, Rektor Universiti Islam Antarabangsa Malaysia, Mr. Abdurrahman Tokbash, Vice President of the Islamic Conference for Youth Forum for Dialogue and Cooperation, seterusnya tuan-tuan, puan-puan, saudara-saudari yang saya hormati sekalian. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Islamic Cooperation for Youth Forum for Dialogue and Cooperation, ICYFDC, the International Islamic University of Malaysia, IIUM, and the Malaysia Youth Council, MBM, for your contribution in organizing this very important forum today. In line with Putrajaya OIC Youth Capital that was launched in 2015, today we reconvene to discuss about our future themed towards the renaissance of Muslim future thinkers Vision 2050 of Malaysia. Professor Zaleha, I must admit that when I saw the word renaissance, I also had to consult the dictionary. I'm not used to the spelling. But please excuse us because apparently the spelling is correct. It's an alternative spelling. This is Dr. Ghani. He's from Kelantan. They spell things very differently in Kelantan. I would choose the usual spelling of Renaissance, which is more French. I'm from Rembau. Our mother tongue in Rembau is Italian and French. Not in Kelantan, obviously. Dr. Nasaruddin, he's from Rembau. He knows that we speak European languages. That's, because Rembau actually comes from the word Rome, Rombau. We are all Italian descent, you see. Anyway, jokes aside, this forum, as part of the Putrajaya OIC Youth Capital 2017, will host 300 delegates from 56 countries in an effort to discuss themes around our Islamic civilization as we head towards an increasingly disruptive and challenging future. I believe that this two-day assignment will continue to serve as an avenue for us to promote intellectual discourse and sharing of perspectives in our effort to facilitate young people in finding solutions for the future of the Ummah. I am extremely thankful to IIUM because when we were tasked by ICYFDC to organize this international conference, of course, one of the big challenges that we faced was cost and the prohibitive nature of trying to bring in people from different parts of the Muslim world. So the idea came to us, and Professor Zaleha was so kind to embrace the idea that we didn't actually need to reinvent the wheel. We actually have Muslims from various nationalities already at the International University in Malaysia. So we decided to work together with a smart partnership and achieve the goals of what was set out by ICYFDC. So thank you very much to IIUM. A big round of applause to this wonderful crucible of knowledge, garden of knowledge and virtue and knowledge that has really put Malaysia on the map of the Muslim world, not just in terms of the quality of teaching in IIUM, but also in terms of the alumni network that is now vast and wide, where people in other countries in positions of power, positions of influence, proudly say that they were educated at the Islamic University, International Islamic University of Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, we are today facing a future of great disruption and change. And also, the Muslim world is at that very same crossroad. If we are to be honest with ourselves, the past decades has seen our civilization slipping further behind. Economically, we lag behind those at the top, whether you measure it in terms of GDP, innovation, in terms of purchasing power, education, and many, many other rankings. Notwithstanding the vast natural resources that have been bestowed to Muslim countries, we have not been able to utilize this or break into the top 10 countries in the world by economic measures. Countries like the United States, Japan, China, and India have seen their dominance continue, and some of these countries have emerged over the last few decades. The West and some of these other emerging countries dominate two very important pillars which drive development. Education, measured through metrics like the World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Report, as well as innovation through the Global Innovative Index, revealed that none of the OIC members were listed in the top 25 countries or top 25 innovative countries. These challenges are not just worrying indicators for the state of our countries today, but it is also a bleak reminder of what is to come if there is no concerted effort to intervene in our development. As a society, we are facing an even greater challenge. The world, through some of the fault of others and the fault of ours, view Islam as an increasingly violent and extreme religion, with the threats of Daesh consolidating this notion of Islamophobia. Never-ending conflicts in the Middle East keep bringing the good name of our faith for the wrong reasons into the headlines of the world. All in all, we are no longer a civilization that is envied or that is admired in the world. There are those in the West that see this as a factor of our history, culture, and tradition, that our DNA will forever lead us into a civilization that is against progress, that is elusive of peace, and that is orthodox in a very, very negative way. Some even blame the teaching of Islam, which in turn seed the hatred of and Islamophobia towards Muslims all over the world. Now, these thoughts are further exacerbated by those who are extreme among us, extreme in solving a conflict, extreme in protecting our traditions, and extreme against progress and technology. I stand here today with conviction to say that these thinkings are all fallacies, created and validated either by ignorance of our history or selective interpretation of it due to laziness and even hatred. To say that Islam and Muslims are forever condemned to be a civilization marred in bloody conflict, incapable of innovation and unqualified for economic success is not only absurd, ill-intentioned, but also belies a lack of appreciation of history. We were, of course, once a glorious civilization. In those golden years of Islam, from the 8th to the 16th century, it was a civilization that led Europe out of the Dark Ages and into the era of enlightenment and gave rise to its Renaissance. My third son has a middle name that I chose to commemorate this. His middle name that I chose was Averroes. Of course, it's the Latin version of Ibn Rushd, as the man who was the commentator towards the great works of Aristotle. Had it not been for Averroes, then the West would have forgotten about the works of Aristotle, and the Renaissance may not have even happened. And that was really respect to the tradition that we were once held in esteem, that we were not just a civilization that people admired, but we were really a bridge from the classical age of Greek philosophy to the Renaissance that took place in Europe. With the spread of Islam, sleepy agricultural and rural sectors suddenly became alive and robust because of the establishment of law and order. Many of these countries before Islam, there was no law, there was no order, there was no peace, there was no justice. The Abbasids, as we know, established banks across the empire for the exchange of currency, introduced gold and silver dirham coins for a financial structure that helped the economy bloom, and the financial structure that largely underpins the economy today. The House of Wisdom, where science and technology legends or greats such as Al-Razi, Al-Khawarizmi, Al-Khindi, they read and they invented, attracted scholars from all over the world in awe of not just our faith, but the rational thinking that was behind our faith, the rational thinking that our scholars promoted, not just blind faith, not just taqlid, but also how they were able to bring together science and rational thinking together with their faith. Those were the days that inventions that helped society progress came from Muslims and came from the Islamic world. Of course, it is encapsulated within the Quran itself, the journey of intellectual discovery. From the Quran, it says, "Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and earth and the alternation of the night and day, these are signs for those of understanding." Of course, those of understanding are the ulul albab, or how we refer and recognize them now to be men of science, men of reason, where they looked at the replacement of night and day, the stars, not just in awe at the creation of this universe, but also in terms of science, of how the planets revolve around the sun and how we measure the cosmic map that resides above us in scientific terms and not just in religious terms. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a great point in our history, but I refuse to believe that it will only stay in history books. If Muslim countries come together to discuss and debate about the right way forward, powered by our young people, I truly believe we can once again find our way to become a great civilization in the world. The best economies, the best societies, inventors, creators, and really leading the way in the growth and development of mankind. And today is one of the many small steps towards what I believe could be the renaissance of Islam. We have the brightest of our young people today together, listening to thought leaders and discussing about the future of our civilization. In the first session, we are going to deliberate on strengthening Islamic values towards a dynamic future. I believe the panels will elaborate on the principles of wasatiyah, or moderation, to deal with differences between manhaj, between sects, schools of conservative and liberal thoughts. We should be sitting down together and talking through our differences. And within Islam, there is a way of managing differences. Let not these differences divide us and lead us to conflict, but rather draw on the best and draw on moderation and draw on the ability for us to concur and form consensus for us to drive the way forward. We talk about wasatiyah as an impetus to harmonious religious and cultural diversity, a value instilled since our Prophet's time. And wasatiyah in this sense is not just about Islam and the non-Muslim world. We also have to practice this sense of moderation within the Muslim world itself. We always talk about the clash of civilizations, about Islam and the non-Muslim world. And we always imagine this to be the great cleavage of our time and how we project ourselves as Muslims to the non-Muslim world. But we also forget the great cleavages that are taking place within the Muslim world itself. And this, fundamentally, is one of the greatest obstacles that we face. Rather than coming together and discussing how we can pool our resources, share our thinking, and put aside our differences, much of the problems within the Muslim world today is happening because we are at conflict with one another. It is something that we don't like to talk about. It is something that we diplomatically avoid during these great meetings of our leaders, but it is really the big problem within the Muslim world today. Those of us who are divided by sex, divided by mazhab, divided by geography, are continuing to be divided by people who feel that it is in their interest to divide and rule. We hope to find the right solution, especially in countering the current and future threats of extremism as we head towards a future where societies will be shaped completely differently. The session after that, we will discuss the role of the OIC in order to strengthen stronger political movements amongst its member states. We now live in an interesting time where tension between emerging and established powers are clear and will get only clearer as we head towards the future. What is then the role of the OIC in consolidating our collective political force to have a greater say in the world order? Malaysia has been a country which stays engaged in the world, and we've played an important role in the OIC. We are not the biggest country in the Muslim world. We are not the country endowed with most natural resources, but we are a country that continues to punch above our weight. We are a country of lesser strategic significance than some of the bigger OIC countries. And look at what we've done. This is testament to what we believe the future of the Muslim world should be. We don't have millions and millions of barrels of oil to drill every single day. We are not at the crossroads or strategic crossroads of other Muslim countries in the Middle East. We don't possess a nuclear arsenal or even the technology to start building a nuclear arsenal, yet people listen to us. People listen to us not because of saber rattling. People listen to us not because we are big purchasers of arms from the United States. People listen to us because we try to get it right. We try to develop a country, we try to develop a Muslim majority country that can be a reference point to other Muslims or other Muslim countries in the world. We don't believe in conflict, we believe in peace. We don't believe in using intellectual and sectarian differences to drive divisions between the Muslim countries. We try to bring people together. And this, I'm not saying this because I'm Malaysian, but I believe this can be a model for the future. I believe that what we've started in Malaysia can be a model for the OIC. And we must have that humility in the Muslim world to be able to learn from one another. One of the things that I believe is also a big problem in the Muslim world is the arrogance of Muslims themselves. Look around us, the OIC, how we refuse to learn from one another, how we think we know better than the other, how you are less Muslim than I am because Muslim or Islam came to my country first and you were only a recipient of it hundreds of years down the line. This arrogance must go, because if you look at the future and the future disruption, you all are way, way behind. Even we are way behind. And if we continue to have this arrogance that is reflective of the Muslim condition and ummah today, then we are not going to get any further. And the OIC must be willing to speak about this openly, speak about the fact that we need to understand that the hard truths are right in front of us. And if we don't get our acts together, then we might as well forget about talking about a renaissance. Later, in the third session, we will discuss about leapfrogging ourselves into a civilization that is rational, that is innovative, that is educated. We'll discuss ways to build a good Muslim society through education, through a proper economic structure, technology, innovation. How are we going to restore the glory of the Islamic Golden Age by establishing a 21st century house of wisdom, especially with the exponential growth of science, mathematics, and technology dominated by the West. And this really is a big challenge for us. I mean, we speak of the House of Wisdom, we speak about it in terms of nostalgia, but can we really ever imagine ourselves to be anywhere near approximately close to what we had during the golden age of Islam? We are talking about an age where things are moving rapidly. The fourth industrial revolution is here today, where the physical world and the digital world and the biological world are coming together, where we see developments in augmented reality, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, changing things, disrupting things on a daily basis. And we're still thumping our chest saying that, you know, we provide most of the oil in this world today. Come on. I mean, this is going back into the past, and this is clinging on to whatever success that we may have had in the past. People are moving on. Soon, people will not be relying on fossil fuels anymore to power our cars, to power our electricity grids. It's going to be moving towards sustainable energies, moving towards electric vehicles. So you can only hold the world to ransom for so long before people move on and people forget about you. And in the fourth and last session, we'll discuss about building on our existing Islamic industries for stronger and a bigger economy for our civilizations. The global halal industry is worth about $3.66 trillion today, and is projected to top 3.7 trillion by 2 years. And it's for us to develop these industries. And my God, we have a great market out there. If there's one thing about Muslims, there are a lot of us. So try to utilize that market, where there's an international Islamic financial market, where there's halal market. If there's one thing that there is of Muslims, if not in terms of progress, education, and innovation, that is the fastest growing religion in the world, because we breed more than the other religions. So try to use that, if not anything else, as an advantage. And grow that market through commerce, through entrepreneurship, through innovation, and through making sure that we utilize the fact that we have one critical advantage, in that we have critical mass right now, and a growing critical mass. It is still the fastest growing religion in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, when we set off becoming one of the 3 OIC youth capitals this year, Putrajaya, we chose the theme, A Force for Good. And we chose the theme, A Force for Good, because we want religion, in particular the religion of Islam, to be a force for good. Those of us in this room may think this is an obvious thing. This is an obvious imperative that religion is a force for good. But it is not obvious to everybody. For some people, religion is a force for evil, because they use religion for evil means. They use religion to perpetrate completely evil atrocities against other people. And let me remind you, just in case you're thinking about an Islamic suicide bomber, that is not just the religion of Islam that is being used to perpetrate evil and terrorism. The great genocide of our generation, the great injustice of our generation is happening not far from Malaysia. The ethnic cleansing that is happening to the Rohingya people in the Rakhine state of Myanmar is a demonstration of how religion is not a force for good in that country. And in that country, the religion is not Islam, where you see Buddhist monks being radicalized by teachings of radical monks and Buddhist leaders that are being used to justify the extermination and the ethnic cleansing against the Rohingya people. You see that certainly Islam does not have a monopoly of religion being used for terror, for persecution, and for evil around the world. So a force for good speaks to the fact that religion, and in this particular case Islam, because that is the religion that all of us are concerned with and most of us belong to, must be a force for good. And we must remind ourselves why it is a force for good. That the teachings of our religion teach us to be good fundamentally. That there is nothing in the teachings of our religion that justify terrorism, that justify murder or persecution, that justify xenophobia, that justify us being unfair and treating minorities in an unfair way. We are a religion of justice. We are a religion where our creed and our fundamental tenet is about socioeconomic justice. We are a religion where a force for good is not just towards the other, but within ourselves. We are a force of good where we redistribute income and wealth. One of our 5 fundamental pillars of Islam, for God's sakes, is about redistribution of income, redistribution of wealth. The system of zakat existed long before the modern system of taxation in modern economies. It is a fundamental basis of our faith, where we are fair to people. So it's not just about a force of good towards others, towards the non-Muslim world, which we must demonstrate again and again and again, but also within the Muslim world. We must demonstrate that if the strongest imperative for us to do something as Muslims is religion, if that is what you believe, then you must believe that it forces us to do good. That we are asked to chase berlumba-lumba untuk buat kebaikan. That is what the Quran teaches us. So we must continue to remember that. Remember that we must go out there and strive to do good on a daily basis, even compete to do good on a daily basis, and not hide behind religion as something that divides us, something that continues to propel this notion of the us and other, but something that really shines the light that this is Islam, and Islam is a force for good. It is a force for good because it is a good religion. But until and unless Muslims show that it is good religion, people will say that there is no good Islam. But that is completely alien to us, because we know that Islam is fundamentally good. It is perfect religion. But Islam can only be judged by its adherence to its faith, by Muslims themselves. If we are not showing the best and the true religion of Islam, then people will not understand the goodness that resides fundamentally and intrinsically within our faith. That's one. Secondly, the last thing that I want to touch about, and that's the last part of the theme towards the renaissance of Muslim future thinkers, Vision TN50 of Malaysia. I want to share with you a little bit about TN50. TN50, or National Transformation 2050, is a 30-year roadmap that we have started for Malaysia. And it's just as important for the Muslim world, I believe, to have a roadmap into the future. We're preparing this roadmap for the next 30 years because we believe that the next 30 years is the great age of disruption. 65% of the jobs that will be filled by primary school students today don't even exist. 40% of the jobs that exist today are at high risk of being replaced by automation and robots. If that is not an age of disruption, I don't know what is. This is the great age of change and disruption which we cannot stop. And if you don't have a roadmap into the future, if you don't have a roadmap as to how you develop and change an education system that can future-proof your country and the Muslim world to the changes that will come over the next 30 years, if you don't have a roadmap which will in some way be able to prepare young Muslims for the jobs of the future, create the jobs of the future, if you don't have a roadmap to understand changing demographics of an increasingly aging society amongst the Muslim world and how we handle those demographic changes by increasing savings, by ensure that we have enough in our pension funds to last us a longer life, longevity in the future, if we don't understand how we are going to continue to feed our population with this vastly growing, where there's scarcity of resources, where the competition for resources like water and food will be tremendous over the next 30 years, where we don't understand how we will power our societies and our economies to make sure that we're more sustainable, less reliant on fossil fuel and black gold that resides under our countries and under our seas, but rather powered by technology that can safeguard the environment and also the future generations, how we're going to look after our sovereignty when it's not just physical borders that are being breached today. Stop talking just about hardware, military assets and military hardware when you can't even defend your digital and virtual borders from being hacked and from elections being intervened by countries from other parts of the world. These are issues which are happening, as I said, not in 30 years' time, but they're already happening today. So Malaysia has set forward to come up with a plan, TN50, where we anticipate some of these changes over the next 30 years. Failing to plan is planning to fail, and we don't want to fail in the future. If we fail to plan today, to anticipate the great disruptions, then Malaysia, what we've done over the last 50 to 60 years since independence, will come to naught. We are very proud of where we are today. We've built a developed, modern society, a Muslim majority country where Islam is the religion of our federation. That is the official definition of Malaysia, Islamic State, all that is semantics and intellectual discourse. We are a country where the religion of the federation is Islam and where we are a Muslim majority country. But we are proud of where we are today, but we must make sure that we don't fall further behind into the future. And that's something that we would like to share with the Muslim world. Brother Abdurrahman said in his speech that he wants to see a network of young Muslim thinkers and the outcome of this to be tabled later by the ICYF and also into the OIC. Now, leave behind that legacy. I would suggest we come up with a young Muslims roadmap for the Muslim world for the next 3 decades, where we start thinking about these disruptions in our society and how we are going to manage them. Information, the digital age will bring changes to our society whether we like it or not. If countries do not reform on their own, if they don't make changes on their own today, then those changes are going to be forced upon them. No country is immune to change, and certainly no country is immune to societal pressure towards change. Either leaders stay in front of the curve, or they themselves will be changed by their people. And ultimately, that change must come from all of you. If you are silent as young Muslims or young people in your countries, then your leaders will not respond and resonate to that change. I would like to think in Malaysia, we are looking 3 decades ahead, 30 years ahead, because that is what the young people of today want in Malaysia. Had we not done it, they would change us. They'd say, you're not thinking about the future. You're not preparing for disruption into the future. So we went down. I've spoken and engaged with 1.5 million Malaysians, collected 60,000 aspirations for young Malaysians about where we want to bring this country in the future, creating roadmap, creating signposts, and we must do the same for the Muslim world. It is not impossible, and it is certainly not an unachievable dream to see the Muslim civilization on the rise again. If we channel our collective energy today that we have, not towards scheming against one another, not towards conflict against one another, not towards creating conflict amongst our countries, not towards developing just nuclear weapons and saber rattling, but rather towards science and technology that can be of use to the ummah, then I think people will start taking us seriously again. It's not that we don't have the talent. We do have the talent, but have that humility to understand that we are in this together. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. And with Kalimah Bismillah Rahman Rahim, I'd like to launch the Muslim Thinkers Forum for Putrajaya OIC Youth Capital 2017. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Sir, for the inspiring speech. May I invite Honorable Datuk Sri Rector and also Mr. Abdul Rahman to accompany the Honorable Minister to the launching station.
And now I would like to call upon Yang Berbahagia Datuk Seri Rector to present a token of IIUM's appreciation to Yang Berhormat Brigadier General Khairi Jamaluddin for his willingness to be with us this morning. His support means so much to all of us here. Thank you, the Honorable Minister. Yang Berbahagia Datuk Seri Rector will now present a memento to Mr. Abdul Rahman Topbash for coming all the way from Turkey to be with us today. Thank you, Mr. Abdul Rahman. May I respectfully invite the VIPs on stage to take seats.
We have come to the end of the opening ceremony. On behalf of IIUM, we would like to express our utmost gratitude and appreciation to the Honorable Minister and all distinguished guests for gracing the event with their presence this morning. We would also like to thank the Ministry of Youth and Sports Malaysia, the Islamic Conference Youth Forum for Dialogue and Cooperation, and National Youth Council Malaysia for their support. Our appreciation also goes to all the moderators, panelists, and participants. We pray that you will all benefit from this program.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we invite all the participants to stand and move towards the middle of this hall for a photography session with the Honorable Minister.